This episode of the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast is brought to you by the Podcast Reach System. Are you ready to exponentially reach more profitable customers? Launching and hosting your own show is your proven best solution for networking, client attraction, and establishing your celebrity expert brand. Visit www.podcastreachsystem.com and claim your rightful place as the leading star of your industry so you make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Welcome to the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast. Join us as we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who reveal what they are doing to make the world a better place by being part of it. Be sure to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, lean in, tune in, get your notepad and 2 pens ready, and let's get started.
My name is Adam Homey. I'm your host, and I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. We are here right now with Scott Letourneau, a good friend of mine going back many years. He's a U.S. e-commerce company formation expert. Since 1997, which about a quarter of a century now, Scott has helped over 6,500 clients through the process to connect the dots and launch their U.S. business with confidence. His passion is being 3 moves or more ahead of you to help you avoid unforeseen pitfalls from the start of your U.S. expansion and especially at tax time. There's so much more you can learn about Scott. Just visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and you'll see it in the show notes. Scott Letourneau, welcome aboard. It's so great to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Pleasure to be with you.
All right, so the story I like to tell is that my company, I am not the original president of my company. You are. I still have the documents from almost 20 years ago when I had a side hustle that I was working on, and I decided to incorporate and form a limited liability company. I heard about your company. I know one of your brands is Nevada Corporate Planners because my dad's friend had a gun collection and had a separate LLC to own the gun collection. So he connected me to your office, and your office did all the work for me. I still have the paperwork in my big blue binder that shows all the documents of incorporation, the meeting minutes, and all that work you did during the one day you served as president of my company. And then it must have been one hell of a day because at the end you said, I resign, I'm done with this crap, and you recommended to the board of directors that they nominate me in your place.
Sure.
So, yes, that's one of the things I love about what your organization does is you make it literally a push button for somebody who wants to get incorporated and who wants to get their business foundation created correctly.
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. And you know, it's important because these days with the online world, there is a couple of buttons that make it simple online. The challenge is a lot of people are leaving out the steps. They don't know that they're really unprotected. They have zero protection. So we want to make sure you have a complete formation, plus you're protected, because when you have a solid foundation underneath you, as you know, everything else in your business gets easier because it's all about confidence and certainty. When you have confidence and certainty, everything else you implement just goes smoother. But if you have a shaky foundation, you're unsure, did I take a couple shortcuts? That plays in your mind and impacts everything. So we want to get it right from the start.
Right. So that kind of answers the question from the outset. The first one we asked, which is about how you make the world a better place for your clients and customers. And I think that's part of it. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think it's important to know that it's really that ripple effect of confidence that goes forward is what I like to call it, is you got the solid foundation, you did everything correctly, you just informed something online, and now you can move forward and focus on what's important with the business with profitability. And you want to be able to do that. And it's going to be a ripple effect, not only in your business, but your personal life. So I'm a big fan of giving people that confidence moving forward. so they can really do what they're supposed to do, which is generate profitability in their business.
Yeah. So tell us in your own words, what it is that you actually do? Because I know it's a bit more than just simply setting up corporations.
Yeah, it really comes to evaluating your goals. What are you looking to accomplish, short term, long term? And you may have a couple goals that you want to get something set up, at the end of the year, going into the beginning of the year. But based upon your profitability at the beginning of the business, which is probably going to be break even, potentially a loss, and where you're going to be a year from now, we have to anticipate, as I say, 3 or 4 moves ahead to decide what's better for you overall. What are the reasons? And the challenge is, Adam, a lot of people are going to go to different accountants, CPAs, attorneys, and we've interviewed them all, and we work with many of them, and you get different answers. And unfortunately, when you launch a business, there is no agreed upon definition. What are the exact steps to do that in? Unlike playing a game, we'd read the rules of the game first. So again, we want to make sure that we take a look at the big picture, not just let's just form an LLC and get started, because there's going to be some steps. We've all had this as entrepreneurs that we wish what we knew a year or 2 later, we would have probably made different decisions at the start. So it's our job to do that for our clients ahead of time.
Yeah. In your experience, what are a few of the most common questions, the FAQs, that people ask when they're working through their decision process to work with you?
Yeah, of course, it depends, if they're in the US or outside the US, we're going to ask which state, which entity is best for me. I live in California. Can I really incorporate Nevada or not? Do I have to foreign register? So it's around those couple questions about which state, which entity, what's the tax impact for me? Sometimes you get into, is this going to allow me to build business credit or get access to capital? And nobody likes to hear the real answer because, we don't like we want to tell them what works, what doesn't work, but how do you get there closer? But, it's not fantasy land. So when it comes to financing, so we definitely help people get in a better position to whatever they want to accomplish. But those are a couple of things that people are typically asking.
Right. And what are a few questions you wish people would ask?
I wish they would ask, and this came from one of my mentors who was on a call with me. We set up the company. He said, Scott, what other services should I have that would give me a better result in my situation that I don't know about yet? What should I be getting from you? And most people don't ask that because it sounds like, oh, it's an invitation to sell me something or provide me something I don't need. But he was smart enough to know that, hey, I'm asking, this is what I think I need, but maybe there's something else that would get a better result. So that's one of them. The other one would be, should we hire you to do a strategy session first before we jump into this? Maybe we should really look at some issues, especially if you get with partners or capital, things that sales tax compliance that could come back to bite you. So those are a couple of questions I wish people would ask more proactively before we get started.
All right. So at this point, this is where we get to have some fun with this project. So we're going to shift gears and we're going to ask a few questions about Scott Letourneau so that our viewers and listeners can get to know you a little bit better. And this is the one that so many of our guests love. What would people who know you be surprised to learn about you?
Is a couple of things. One is I love to interview people from the standpoint, typically older people, a lot of times aunts or uncles, and I'll go through their whole timeline. I interviewed an aunt and uncle recently, and we were talking about my great-grandparents in the 1860s from one interview. And I had a client once that said, would you interview my mother and go through her whole life story? Dropped her off at my office on a Saturday. I interviewed her for 3 hours, never met her in my life. And he learned so many things that he never knew about his mother. So we go through step by step. And so that's a fun thing. The other thing is, I've done the Tony Robbins fire walk probably 6 times over 30 years. I only burnt my feet once, which I thought was cool. I was all excited when that happened. It was the 30-foot one in Hawaii back in 93. So, there's just some cool things, but I really love asking questions and going deep with people and connecting. And I don't do well on surface stuff that, that's not my expertise. I like to connect and ask a couple more important questions. So we can, especially if I can help out or provide a resource, that's kind of really what I'm passionate about.
Well, you know, if you want to walk on hot coals, all you have to do is walk on the sidewalk in Las Vegas on a hot summer day. I mean, this has been studied. Because of how hot it gets here, the asphalt on the sidewalk is actually going to be approximately the same temperature as the coals at a Tony Robbins event. They may say they're 1,000 degrees, but really they're about 150, give or take. And the little secret is you're probably not going to get burned as long as you don't stop and take selfies halfway through.
You got it, Adam. It's you're not exactly at the pool if don't have your flip flops on, going to do the power move as you're going into the water. You might cause a little disturbance, so you probably tiptoe run into the water quickly. So yeah, different approach, but absolutely that's happened before. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you hope people say about you when you're not around to hear it?
You know that Scott's a very detailed, knowledgeable guy. It's something that can go as a great resource. He thinks outside the box. He has my best interest at heart. He'll tell me what I don't want to hear, even though, I don't really want to hear it as far as what's not going to work or what will work and what challenges. So hopefully those are some of the things that they might say. Great.
If you could go back in time and change one thing you've done, one thing you've happened, one thing you've experienced, what would it be and why?
From there's of course there's probably buckets of them, but from a business point of view, I've had a lot of people work with me over the years, some really good ones, some, okay ones. They, as they say, hire slow, fire fast. And I had a director of operations back in 2003 that really was growing my company about the time that perhaps you came on board with your new entity. And he was dynamic and great, but I had a mentor that was all about character. And part of this guy's background, there was a little different story we couldn't quite clear, but he was doing gangbusters, and his recommendation was to fire the guy that his character wasn't right. And, from a business point of view, that might have cost me 5 to 10 million over the next few years because he was really dynamic. And that's probably one person I let go that I wish I would have redone and kept on board. So HR and hiring, buckets of mistakes there. Fortunately, I got an amazing team now, but that's one of them that stands out.
Sometimes you just don't really know. I mean, and everything's a situation, and people find themselves in different situations, in different chapters of their life. So you had the information you had at the time, and there's only so much you can do, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just learn from them, and you kind of have a checklist, which I always had, and say, what did I do well here? Why did I think this person was going to work out? Why did it didn't work out? What I missed in the interview questions, I would add to those questions, attempt to be better next time. Because in life, just like in relationships, especially, sometimes we oscillate. Oh, I don't want somebody who's like this, so I go to the opposite. And actually, they have some good characteristics. So those things are important to keep in mind when hiring top people for your team.
Yeah. What famous person, alive or dead, would you like to meet? And if you had the opportunity to do so, what question would you have?
Yeah, this is really a good one. There's several, but the one that came to mind for me was Einstein.
Okay.
And the question I would ask him, he said at the end of his life, I'm paraphrasing, that people realize that one day they could heal themselves through thought and intellect alone. And I think I would love to drill down on that, ask him questions from a scientific point of view. I know from a theory point of view what he's probably talking about, but I would love to ask him that. I actually had an uncle that was married into our family that was a rocket scientist that Einstein at the end of his life was one of his professors. So I would ask my uncle, who was a rocket scientist, about some of these things. But that's the one I'd love to drill down in, especially in the times we live in, that how do you go deeper into that? Because I'm a big one on health and mindset and things of that nature. So that would be a cool experience.
Absolutely. So what motivates and inspires you to keep going when you're having a tough time or facing a challenge?
For me, it's my family. I got 3 kids that are teenager, one that's 20, and my wife. And I think when it's difficult, the focus can be on ourselves. In my case, myself, what's not going right. Then you got to take a step back and what can I be grateful for? Because that seems to get you out of that space. And then you take a step back. So that's the one that if things aren't going well, or you're getting extra frustrated, or we always have things we felt would go better than we thought. So that grounds me and gets me back on track in a hurry. That's not as much as about me, it's about others, and then I can move forward effectively. So that works for me.
Outstanding. So I know you have an invitation you're going to share with our audience, and I will do that for you in just a moment. But our final question here for you is, in general, as soon as somebody finishes streaming or listening to this episode, what action would you urge them to take today?
As far as business growth and profitability, I would suggest, and this is probably maybe something you haven't heard before, is model the Walt Disney pattern. And when he would brainstorm ideas, they had the dreaming room. And it was a separate meeting where you would brainstorm ideas without any evaluation. So if it's yourself or a partner, or if you have a team, you can have a meeting, brainstorm all these ideas. It's not a place where you would have any type of, oh, I don't think that's a good idea, because it shuts down ideas. So you do that in one step. Number two, you then have a separate meeting to evaluate the ideas. Then you look at it based upon the shortest amount of time and the least amount of money to get the result that'll get you the most profitability. If you do that in your business, you're going to open up your mind to so many different opportunities, especially with joint venture type things where other people gladly promote your services to help their members out. So that's what comes to mind for me. Final quick thought is just, we all get overwhelmed with so much information. And the secret there is just stop and prioritize. So we're not necessarily going to eliminate it, but if you notice yourself getting overwhelmed and unproductive, just stop and say, it's a signal for me to stop, prioritize what's next, second, third, and move forward the rest of your day. So those are a couple of strategic thoughts that I think people would get tremendous results on with their business and moving forward quickly.
Right. Okay. So Scott has an invitation for all of our listeners and viewers today. If you visit his website, and he has many websites, if you check the show notes, Scott has a lot of different websites. I encourage you to go to the show notes on our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and check them out. But the one we want to direct you to today is, and I'm going to say this out loud one time for those who are out running and jogging. It's displayed on your screen if you're watching the video version of this. It's www.nvinc.com. So NVINC. www.nvinc.com. And when you go to that URL, you'll have the opportunity to book a call with Scott. If you let them know you heard Scott on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, he will be in that Zoom call with you. So this is a very unique opportunity. Scott's extremely busy with his various business ventures, but he is willing for select folks who refer the Brilliance Plus Passion project when scheduling with him, that he'll speak with you personally. So go to www.nvinc.com. With that, Scott Letourneau, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, an education.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet.
Thank you for tuning into the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, where we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who are making a difference for their community, market, and audience. Remember to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast.